Coming in number 10, we've got Wolverine. Say it isn't so. The Hulk and Wolverine never would fight. They're both so friendly and easy to get along with. I almost had you for a second, didn't I? Now, these two are almost contractually obliged to duke it out from time to time now, aren't they? Going way back to the era before Wolverine was even an official X-Men, this duo would fight over just about anything, and it really could go either way. Like, Wolverine has beaten the Hulk before, albeit in the grim dark universe of Old Man Logan, but in most cases, James Howlett loses out to the Hulk. Sure, he's technically invincible and will always bounce back in one way or another, well, most of the time. There's no dealing with brute force that the Hulk has to offer. Way back before Wolverine was even introduced in X-Men, the two fought with the Hulk refusing to back down. Then there's the time that the Hulk returned from space looking to exact some revenge on those who would send him out there. Wolverine definitely had his butt kicked this time in particular. And who could forget the legendary rip and tear fest that was Hulk versus Wolverine atop a mountain in Tibet. God, Hulk really let him have it that time, didn't he? Limbs were removed and tossed to different mountaintops, and legs were threatened to be eaten. Not a good look for our pal Wolverine now, is it? But what can you do? Beating the Hulk isn't something most folks even have a chance at. Coming at number 9, we've got Spider-Man. A cursory Google search will reward you with a plethora of insane clickbait homebrew animations, pitting Spider-Man against the Hulk in the lowest resolution possible. Ah, the internet. Is there no end to your ridiculous cash grabs? Remember the era of Spider-Man Elsa videos? What a time to be alive. However, the bouts between Spider-Man and Hulk don't end at cheesy animations and gaming channels. There are indeed a few fights between the two in official Marvel stories. Cool, popular, and versatile as Spider-Man is, there really isn't a way for him to beat the Brute in head-to-head combat. He's got super strength and spidey senses, but that's not enough to take out a towering monster of flesh and gamma radiation. He's used his smarts to great effect in the past, putting other heroes' technology and strategies to use and defeating overpowered opponents. There are instances of Spider-Man outmaneuvering Hulk too. And there was also the time that he had some godly cosmic powers, but that's not exactly fair, is it? However, in the end, our green pal will likely come out on top of any fight between these two. Most times, Spidey would be best just to hide out until the Hulk leads. If he's less lucky, he'll get walloped and pass out, which has happened a couple times. The Hulk is pretty strong. Coming at number 8, we've got Iron Man. Wait, aren't these guys both founding Avengers? Why would they ever have to fight? Well, that's the thing, there's always a reason or two. They've got big, science-centered brains and plenty of power for sure. However, Tony Stark tends to get on people's nerves and also makes a bunch of decisions without consulting others. The Hulk does not take well to this, not one bit. So of course the guy with the craziest technology is going to have to take on the sheer physical might of a creature that thrives on anger. It's just gotta happen. And fight they do, but here's the thing. It's not often that Iron Man scores a decisive victory or even a victory at all. No matter how powerful and advanced he makes his weaponry, no matter how far ahead he plans to fight the Hulk, he comes with some inherent limits. His tech will eventually run out of juice, get damaged, or reach a predetermined limit. You can't really make stuff push too far past the limits of the materials it's made of. Hulk, on the other hand, will always be getting angrier and therefore stronger. He's like a perpetual motion machine of rage and fury. So even with the Hulkbuster suits, darts to sap strength, and a bevy of other interesting anti-Hulk technology, eventually this will all run out, leaving the Hulk to do what he will. It's happened time and time again, muscle beats machinery in this case. There's that time that Stark sent Hulk off into the universe, I guess, but that resulted in World War Hulk, which wasn't very fun for anyone on planet Earth. Whoops. Coming in at number 7, She-Hulk. Speaking of World War Hulk, funny how that works, right? One would think that Hulk loves his cousin too much to fight her. They have a long, strong history together, essentially treating each other as siblings, and don't often get mad, with each other anyways, despite the anger inherent in their powers. Hell, Bruce Banner is the reason that She-Hulk is the way she is. After an emergency blood transfusion, Jennifer Walters is endowed with a less intense version of Bruce Banner's condition, like a watered down Hulk. Still plenty powerful and possibly the strongest woman in Marvel, but she's not quite a match for Bruce's monster. However, like I was saying before, why would they ever fight? They're family. Well, World War Hulk changed the way the Hulk saw the world. Totally fueled by anger and revenge, he came back to Earth a changed being. And coming across his cousin, he felt no remorse in slamming her so hard into the ground that the Earth around her was turned into a crater. Holy smokes, Hulk, no mercy, eh? Coming in number 6, we've got Loki. I feel like this moment cemented the Avengers as the premier attraction in Marvel's budding cinematic universe. Back before we had any confirmation of Infinity Stones or gauntlets, we had the Tesseract. Loki, god of mischief and brother to the mighty Thor, used this object to cause all sorts of mayhem. This wasn't his only trick, but it worked particularly well. Being a god, Loki was pretty cocky though. What could Earth's heroes do to stop me, he thought. Well, the Hulk had something to say about that. He tossed the so-called puny god around like a child with a doll having a temper tantrum. Got some chuckles, inspired some memes, the works. However, this little fight had been hotly contested. Loki, again, a literal god, likely wouldn't have been hurt by this interaction at all. Like, would the Hulk have even had an effect on him? Stranger things have happened for sure. This moment might have just been played for laughs to ensure an audience hit, but hey, Hulk did indeed beat the snot out of Loki in this particular instance.
Number 6. Stop an earthquake? Now we are comfortably in the realm of utterly ridiculous and thriving here. Let's talk about Hulk just becoming a force of nature rather than a superhero. In Incredible Hulk number 202 from 1976, Hulk got sent down through quantum time and space, shrinking down further and further until he reaches the microscopic world of Terragonia, where he is reunited with his old green-skinned flame, Jarella. The realm is being plagued by constant earthquakes that are tearing the ground apart, and after Hulk strikes the ground in defense of his lover, an earthquake strikes. Now Jarella doesn't want to leave her people behind, and in order to stop the quake, the green brute lays over the crack in the earth, plants his feet in one tectonic plate, and his hands firmly in the other, and just pulls them back together again. Number 4. Holds a planet together with his bare hands. Piggybacking off of that, but like multiplying it by like 1 billion, in Incredible Hulk number 102, the Hulk is leading a rebellion against the tyrant Red King on the planet of Sakaar, where he was banished by the Illuminati. Hulk is trying to save the people he has become an idol to, and the Red King, pretty aware that he's about to get overthrown, triggers a doomsday device built to tear the planet apart right at its tectonic plates. Now this Hulk, who has been going by the World Breaker, does the complete opposite. He dives down close to the planet core, which is drenched in lava by the way, and he uses his massive, incredible strength to keep the literal tectonic plates of the planet held together so that it won't be destroyed. The Hulk is the reason the Avengers stuck together in the first place, and now he's also the green, angry glue that holds bigger than Earth planets together too. Nice. Number 3. Casually destroying dimensions. In Incredible Hulks number 634 from 2010, the sister of Dormammu, Umar, has ensnared the Hulk and brought him to her dark dimension, which things get complex as Tyrannus shows up with Betty Ross, Red She-Hulk, and Amadeus Cho and Doctor Strange also appear. Now, confirming that no one in this dimension save his friends are good, Hulk instructs Strange to get everyone out, saying that he's the World Breaker. And he goes off fighting all the Dark Dimension forces plus Red She-Hulk, and in their battle, Hulk slams his fist down, completely destroying the Dark Dimension planet that they are all standing on, and simultaneously wiping out every single being existing on the planet, apart from himself and Red She-Hulk. The art from this scene is so good, and it really shows the true amount of power on display here as Hulk destroys the dimension. Number 2. Clapped. The Hulk clap is probably one of, if not the signature Hulk move after the Hulk smash, which is just him hitting things, so like, that's kind of normal. In Hulk number 126, we see just how powerful this clap can really be when he destroys a universe with it. In the comic, the Hulk is sent to another dimension thanks to a group of crazed cultists who want the Hulk to fight the villain known as Nightcrawler. Now it's not the mutant, it's a separate character. Their battle is super long and super intense, but ultimately after a sonic attack is sent by Nightcrawler, Hulk responds using his Hulk clap, and it accidentally tears apart the universe that the battle is taking place in. To be fair, it was in the 1970s, which when comic book characters seem to do just whatever the heck the writers wanted, but it's still an insane amount of devastation caused by one single clap. Number 1. Superman throw. I mean, if we want to prove that Hulk is literally the strongest there is, how about we just put him up against another character given the same title? Superman. We could talk about when he outstrengthened a Celestial, when he shook the multiverse, all kinds of things, but the debate between which of these two fictional characters would win in a fight has been a long one that hasn't had a real conclusive winner for decades. We've seen it happen over many different times, with wins for both characters. But in July 1999, Marvel released the one-shot The Incredible Hulk vs. Superman #1. This time around, it wasn't quite as clear as to who was the superior. Each character demonstrates incredibly impressive feats. However, one such moment featured the Hulk hitting Superman so hard after he tried to bear hug the Hulk that the Man of Steel got launched into space, leaving the Man of Steel completely taken off guard by the display of strength. The feat itself is positively mind-boggling. The Hulk isn't even at full power when he shrugs Superman into orbit, and Superman's own powers, including his own strength, durability, and his flight, make it even more impressive that the Hulk could shrug off Superman 200 miles into what looks like the thermosphere.
Number 10. Outsmarted. One of the most famous fights between the Hulk and the Thing also happens to be one of the first. This one goes down in Fantastic Four issue number 12, where the Fantastic Four are led to believe that the Hulk is the one behind a bunch of destruction, an attempt to get together to try and stop him. However, this does not end up working out very well. That's because the Hulk is not only the strongest there is, but he also manages to outsmart them almost completely. Hulk realizes that the FF have the advantage since together they are very powerful, but if he can take them on one by one, then he stands a better chance at defeating them. That's right, it wasn't even his brute strength but his strategy that allowed him to defeat the Fantastic Four this time around. Well, almost. The Thing seemingly defeats the Hulk with his piledriver punch, but in reality, his punch misses, and it was actually an energy ray that hit the Hulk and knocked him out. Fortunately though, this reveals to the FF that the Hulk was not behind all the destruction, and yeah. They can at least now go after the people that are actually responsible. Number 9. Illuminate the Truth. In the secondary short comic that is included in the World War Hulk prologue Worldbreaker, titled Round Trip, we get to see an alternate Hulk embarrass a group he refers to as the Illuminators, obviously the more cartoonish version of the Illuminati. This group ends up sending Hulk to space and another planet in a spaceship, ultimately because he stole Namor's sandwich. How does Hulk embarrass them? In a similar fashion to his plan in the reality of Earth 616, he ends up heading homeward after the group exiles him. Here he doesn't necessarily seem to have the same trauma behind him as he does on 616, fueling his rage even more, but the Illuminators are still completely in a tizzy over the fact that the Hulk ship seems to be on a return course after they sent him away. Except Namor. Namor feels safe knowing that he lives deep in the ocean and that if the surface world gets all smashed up, he and his kingdom will probably still be good. And friends, before we move on to the next spot on this list, if you love our channel and you love our content, be sure to head on over to Facebook to show us that love and support by giving us a follow and a like. I think that's one of the things you do on Facebook. You like stuff. Hey. Number 8. To Hear You Scream. Speaking of World War Hulk, one of the most embarrassing fights comes from the very beginning of that event, in World War Hulk issue number 1, when Hulk faces off against Black Bolt. Black Bolt and his queen Medusa, you see, have some ego, which ends up quickly turning into hubris for them. Black Bolt had fought the Hulk before and won, so it was for this reason that they barely even gave Hulk the time of day when he shows up. When Hulk rushes them both, angry for what has happened to his people and the planet that he freed and made his own, Black Bolt only responds with a whisper, saying, "Enough," and with the force of his words pushing Hulk far back. But Hulk ends up coming out on top as he immediately recovers and leaps back at Black Bolt. He didn't come to Attilan for a whisper, he came to hear Black Bolt scream, and it definitely seems like he makes him scream. He does not look like he's in great shape after that conversation. Number 7. Size isn't everything. It really isn't in terms of battle, as is proven in the Ultimates issue number 5. You see, in the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, Hulk isn't exactly a hero. Here the Avengers are known as the Ultimates, although there is also an Avengers team in this reality, but trust me, they aren't quite the heroic equivalent to the 616 team that we know. But the Ultimates pretty much are that. As Hulk goes on a rampage downtown, the Ultimates must band together in an effort to defeat him. And to be clear, in this reality, Hulk isn't on the Ultimates. The first one up to bat to try to tackle this big beast is Giant Man, aka Hank Pym. He attempts to defeat the Hulk as, well, a giant man. But just because Hulk is smaller than Hank doesn't mean he can't still pack a punch. While Giant Man attempts to hold Hulk beneath his hands and ask him to calm down, also calling him puny, Hulk responds by jumping onto Giant Man's face and threatening to rip his head off and use it like a toilet bowl, before punching his lights out. Proving that, yeah, even if you think, well, I'm a lot bigger than the Hulk, it doesn't mean that the Hulk can't mess you up. Number 6. Bustin' makes me feel not so good. In the case of Tony Stark, that is. While the Hulkbuster became a famous suit of armor in the Avengers film franchise, we also know it from the comics. During the events of World War Hulk, Tony attempted to use this armor to defeat the Hulk when he returned to Earth and threatened to destroy it if he wasn't given the heroes responsible for sending him into space. One of which who was responsible was Tony, who actually initially created the Illuminati group that sent the Hulk away. Tony had also created nanotech, which would in theory be capable of suppressing the Hulk's powers, actually even forcibly using it on Jennifer Walters previously, which she actually sued him for in return. However, the Hulkbuster, the nanosuppressant, even the big bombs that they attempted to use all did nothing. Hulk's pain was so intense, his anger so great, that he became powerful enough to survive all of this and remain in his Hulk form. So apparently it doesn't matter how smart you are, Tony, or how prepared. In the end, if Hulk wants to smash, he's going to continue to smash. You can't Hulk bust your way out of that one.
Number 5. Abomination. As a longtime adversary of the Hulk, of course the Abomination has to pack a serious punch. Emil Blonsky was a KGB spy at the Gamma base during the Cold War. Wanting to be like the Hulk, he exposed himself to a greater amount of gamma radiation than Bruce Banner, but it didn't exactly go the way he wanted. Emil has a lot of the same abilities as Hulk. Super resistant to damage, can breathe underwater, a healing factor, and can travel huge distances in a single bound. Unfortunately for Hulk though, Abomination is actually twice the base strength of the Hulk, and he retains his intelligence while in the form of Abomination, which he is permanently stuck in. He has a deep hatred for the Hulk, being beaten by him so many times, and has teamed up with many other core Hulk villains, specifically General Ross, to go after the big green Goliath. Abomination first appeared in Tales to Astonish number 90 in 1967, and thanks to Shang-Chi, we know he is still active in the MCU, so let's hope we get to see him return in a much bigger way. Number 4. Red Hulk. General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross has been an obsessed and long-time adversary to Bruce Banner, even before he became the Hulk, literally appearing in the very first Hulk comic. When the Hulk emerged, Thaddeus made it his mission to hunt him down. But when his daughter and Bruce Banner's love interest Betty Ross died, and Hulk was exiled from Earth, General Ross was both grieving and purposeless, until the villains MODOK and the Leader convinced him to join them to take on the Hulk when he eventually returned. They siphoned off energy and power from the Hulk and gave it to Thaddeus, turning him into the Red Hulk. With almost all the same powers of the Hulk, plus some that are unique to him, Ross is an incredibly powerful character. He has easily killed the Abomination, defeated Odin Force Thor with caveats, obviously, punched the Watcher unconscious, and killed an Elder of the Universe. He can control his transformation to Red Hulk, emits gamma radiation as heat that gets hotter and hotter as he gets angrier and angrier, even becoming an explosion if angry enough. He absorbs energy, usually gamma, but has absorbed and stolen the Silver Surfer's power cosmic, riding off into the distance on his silver surfboard. He is an incredibly powerful villain and has gone on to become a hero. Number 3. Armageddon. This is the only character on this list I had not heard of before. Let me know if it's the same for you, but Armageddon, or Armageddon, is the warlord of the Trojan Empire and is also one of Incredible Hulk's greatest enemies. Armageddon first appears in Incredible Hulk number 413 as the ruler of the Trojan Empire, and has incredible superhuman strength and durability. But he differs from most Hulk villains in that strength isn't his main power. No, Armageddon has the ability to channel and release huge amounts of cosmic energy through his body. Armageddon blames Hulk for the death of his son, Trauma, and when he captures Hulk and forces him to power a machine to revive his son, Hulk overdoes it, and the machine instead completely disintegrates Trauma's body. Yikes, dude. Armageddon sorta not really gets his own back in Incredible Hulk's 632. When he poisons Rick Jones and She-Hulk and throws them off of an aircraft high in the sky. They were fine, and it mainly just led to Hulk using the full scale of his World Breaker Hulk power to pummel the Cosmic Warlord almost to death. Number 2. Kang the Conqueror. Rama Tut. He Who Remains. Nathaniel Richards. Kang the Conqueror, a big-time Avengers baddie, and our next MCU major villain. Of course, if we're talking about Kang the Conqueror, we're going to be talking about time travel. While these two have done battle while Hulk was in the Avengers, in the Incredible Hulk number 135, Kang kidnaps the Hulk and sends him back to 1917 to take out a guy known as Phantom Eagle, who was supposed to destroy a giant German mortar cannon that could take out one of Bruce Banner's own ancestors, meaning that the Hulk would cease to be and the Avengers never would have formed. I kind of feel like Kang could probably just do this himself, and in more ways than going back to 1917 and destroying a cannon that would destroy an ancestor of the guy who becomes Hulk. But what do I know? I don't know. Instead of taking out Phantom Eagle, the Hulk accidentally takes out the mortar cannon by himself, sending him back to the present and sending Kang to the limbo. A different kind of fight, but a fight nonetheless. Number 1. The Void. In the comments of the last video, I saw someone comment that Hulk has fought the Sentry. And that is very true. And Sentry is an exceedingly crazy powerful character, but I didn't want to cheat and use a hero for this list like I've done before. Instead, I looked a little deeper. The Sentry, Robert Reynolds, has an interesting trait to his character called the Void. The Void is Robert's internal, eternal nemesis, a destructive embodiment of all Robert's negative aspects that has the power to destroy the world and even potentially the universe. Now, even in the very first appearance of the Void, the Hulk was there, and they did fight a little, but in the Sentry number 3, the Void shows up separate from the Sentry and it fights the Hulk and breaks every single bone in his body. It's intense.
Coming in at number 10, we've got an honorable mention for the time that the immortal Hulk buried a similarly immortal villain alive within a mountain, in an incident that was a bit less embarrassing and a bit more existentially terrifying. While on the run, the Hulk found himself running into a mad scientist known as Dr. Fry, who had attempted to conquer death through the use of gamma radiation and had accidentally both poisoned his hometown and turned himself into a glowing skeletal creature that would cannibalize anyone stumbling across his mountain cave. Since he was unable to kill him, the Hulk wound up trapping Dr. Fry within his mountain cave without the use of his arms or legs, essentially burying him alive. Note to self: do not get on the Hulk's bad side while also being immortal. Coming in at number 9, we've got either the best or worst Hulk pun of all time used against the Red King. Following his exile from planet Earth, the Hulk found himself as a gladiator combatant on the planet Sakaar, battling in fights overseen by the cruel leader of the planet, Angmo Asan, aka the Red King. In a final battle to take back the planet, the Hulk led a force of rebels against their captors, and went head-to-head against the Red King inside his own arena in a sword duel to the death. And while the fight itself was pretty cool, the icing on the cake was the final pun as the Hulk defeated his foe with his sword and cried out, "Hulk slash." Coming in at number 8, we have the Incredible Hulk vs. Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans. Following the Hulk's extended stay on Sakaar, and following the death of the love that he'd found on the planet, the Hulk began making his way back to Earth to face off against the heroes that had sent him into the cosmos in the first place. He was intercepted on the Earth's moon by Black Bolt, who used his incredibly destructive voice to whisper enough at the Hulk when he refused to back down. An attack that likely would have killed anyone else, but left the Hulk still standing, grinning, and saying, "I didn't come here for a whisper, I want to hear you scream," which just might be the most badass thing ever dared to be said to Black Bolt. Coming in at number 7, we have the Ultimate Hulk literally eating Herr Kaiser. As one of the first major enemies faced by the Ultimate superhero team, Kaiser was a Chitauri warrior that had infiltrated Earth during the Second World War and was able to fight toe-to-toe with both Nick Fury and the Super Serum enhanced Captain America. As a last-ditch effort to defeat the villain, the Ultimates unleashed the Hulk to defeat their shape-shifting foe, who decided to ensure Kaiser could never return by eating his corpse and then destroying the feces that resulted from the meal. There's overkill, and then there's being overkilled by the Hulk. Coming in at number 6, we have the Ultimate Hulk vs. Ultimate Abomination. In another example of the Ultimate Hulk being vicious as hell, the Abomination was an attempt to recreate the conditions that had made the Hulk, but hoping to improve the process and allow him to be controlled. The Abomination had all of the Hulk's strength, but retained all of his human brain power after the transformation, which was intended to help the Abomination permanently put down the Hulk, but still led to Abomination being absolutely torn to shreds, with the Hulk adding salt to the wound by claiming, "You think too much," a final backhanded insult to show that being smarter isn't always going to lead to better outcomes.
Number 5. Onslaught. After Magneto used his powers to rip the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, Professor Xavier snapped and shut down the mind of Magneto. In the process of this, Xavier absorbed all the anger, grief, and lust for vengeance from Magneto's mind, which molded with every long-suppressed negative feeling the professor had endured during the last 30 years. This resulted in a personality forming within Xavier, known as Onslaught, that would eventually separate to become a separate entity all on its own. Onslaught was incredibly powerful, and all the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four could not take him. That's when Bruce Banner's Hulk said, "Hold my beer," and told Phoenix to turn off the Bruce personality inside his head. She did, and the Savage Hulk beat Onslaught so hard he destroyed his impenetrable armor, allowing Thor to land a massive blow and the heroes to take the win. Number 4, Thanos. Thanos is an interesting one, and we're talking without the Infinity Gauntlet. See, he is exceedingly strong, so much so that he can stand toe-to-toe with Hulk, at least at Hulk's base strength. Thanos tends to have the advantage in most of their conflicts, using his intelligence and martial skill to take the win more often than not. We see an excellent example of this in the MCU's Infinity War, even if it was a stupid excuse for Hulk not to show up for the rest of the movie. The two of these guys have traded wins pretty evenly, but Thanos has the advantage in my mind. If you have the time, check out the Thanos vs. Hulk 4-part story. It's a cool story involving Annihilus, and it leads right into Thanos the Infinity Relativity, which is also a really fun read. Number 3, Surtur. We mentioned the MCU in the last point, but I thought I'd go full force into it. In Thor Ragnarok, we get to see Hulk attack Surtur, the fire giant, as he is destroying Asgard with the Twilight Sword. It's actually really awesome. So he has fought Surtur, but how would that go in the comics? That's a good question. Well, we know that Surtur's main purpose is to beat Odin, so he is at least on Odin's level. You know who else is on Odin's level? Zeus. And Zeus and Hulk have had a bit of a scuffle once upon a time, which didn't go well for the Hulk. But then again, you take one of Hulk's more powerful forms, like Worldbreaker Hulk or Heart of the Monster Hulk, and Hulk takes the win every time. Number 2, Galactus. He's a cosmic being who goes around eating planets, and he thinks he can try to come to Earth and pull that nonsense? We have a Hulk. Earth's dinner menu is no longer available. Oh, just kidding. The Hulk has not won against Galactus, and they've never really had a one-on-one fight. It's safe to say that of all the heroes on Earth, Hulk is maybe one who could make Galactus notice him though. But that's likely as far as it will go. Just like with Surtur, in theory he could win if he got angry enough, but we just haven't had an example of that. And it would have to be quite the insane level of power for Hulk to take the win. Hulk does actually become the Herald of Galactus at one point when he becomes Worldbreaker Hulk in What If World War Hulk, and it is just insane. Number 1, the One Below All. In the Immortal Hulk storyline, Hulk is transported to the Below Place, which is the realm of the One Below All. Now, just to give some context, in Marvel Comics there's a character called the One Above All, who hasn't really been seen all too often, but it essentially is the equivalent to God, or the Creator. Now we have gods like Odin and Zeus and Thor in Marvel Comics, but this is different. It is like the God of everything, the supreme ruler of creation and compassion. It's even been represented as the writers of Marvel at one point, to give you an idea. So the One Below All is the antithesis to this, the personification of destruction and hate. The One Below All is trapped in the Below Place and manifests in realities through Gamma. Basically, this means that Hulk and the other Gamma mutated beings have fractions of the One Below All's power. In an alternate future, it would actually take over Bruce Banner's body and use his power to devour the cosmic entity Eternity, and eventually it would eradicate all life in the multiverse. Luckily, this is prevented in the Immortal Hulk storyline, but I'm telling you, go read this. Number 10. Implodes Abomination's face. Emil Blonsky has been an enemy of the Incredible Hulk for a long time, so it doesn't come as a surprise that he has also taken some of the most brutal beatings that the Hulk has dished out. Doesn't mean he doesn't deserve it though. In Incredible Hulk issue 54 from 2004, Emil makes the small mistake during a massive scuffle of reminding Bruce/Hulk how he ended Betty Ross's life and asking if Hulk ever thinks about that. Boy, what is you doing? This throws Hulk into a fit of rage, understandably, double fisting Abomination into the sky and absolutely pummeling him, with one panel showing the Hulk punching Abomination so hard, his fist looks like it's completely imploding the villain's face, with chunks flying off. And then he throws Abomination into a helicopter. Just so we're aware, Abomination is not a pushover. He regularly throws punches with the Hulk, even beating him a few times. Hulk put him down in a few pages, and all it took was the mistake of a few choice words. Number 9. Fighting other Hulks has caused earthquakes. But there have been fights much more monumental where punches were thrown that caused the very ground to splinter. In New Avengers issue 28 from 2013, we see two Hulks from separate universes be forced into a battle of fisticuffs, and Steve Rogers makes a comment about seismologists around the world having a field day as the blows these two Hulks throw at each other make the ground shake and crack. Another example is a fight between Red Hulk and Doc Green, which is an Extremis enhanced Hulk. In Hulk issue 14 from 2014, after Doc Green had rid the world of all gamma enhanced beings except for the Red Hulk, the two start throwing punches. Punches that are felt all over the United States, with Vision in New York, a random lady in Chicago, and some dudes in a truck in Arizona all feeling the earthquake that these two Goliaths are causing. Number 8. Fin Fang Foom to the moon. In the 2008 one-shot Hulk vs. Fin Fang Foom number 1, these two massive green creatures go head to head. Fin Fang Foom isn't a weakling by any standard of measurement, so the Hulk taking him on one-on-one is a feat in and of itself. But picking up the giant dragon-shaped alien who weighs 20 tons and chucking him with one hand 238,855 miles, or 384,400 kilometers for all the rest of us who aren't in America, all the way to the moon to put him on timeout. There's not much more that needs to be said about this one. The 1,400-pound Hulk spun the 20-ton Fin Fang Foom around by his tail and then chucked him to the moon. And that is just kind of utterly insane. Also, after he threw him, he just says, "Stupid dragon." And that's kind of hilarious. So. Number 7. Catching mountains. One of the Hulk's most notable feats would be an utterly insane moment in Marvel Superhero Secret Wars from 1984. The villain Molecule Man uses his powers to lift an entire mountain range over the gathered group of Avengers and drops it, crushing the whole group of heroes. Or so we are left to believe for a few comic pages, until it's revealed that the Incredible Hulk has caught and is holding up the 150 billion ton mountain to keep his fellow Avengers alive while they figure out how to get the heck out of there. I couldn't even open a jar of pasta sauce the other day, so yeah, this is kind of out of this world.
Number 5. Nightmares Mind Games. We go now to the Incredible Hulk issue 299. So after the Avengers and everybody decided, hey, the Hulk can finally control himself, let's be nice and maybe make a statue for the guy. He earned it. Earth's mightiest heroes. We love this guy. This is the best. And then in comes the villain Nightmare, just to ruin the day for everybody involved. He taps into Banner's subconscious and then makes him resort back to the monstrous, uncontrollable ways that he used to be. Again, kind of like when Wanda toyed with him in Age of Ultron, except this time he had a nice handy statue to break over his friends' heads instead, you know? He grabs a statue that was made for him and then he tosses it right at Thor. The Hulk even goes after Banner's girlfriend, Kate Waynesboro, so surely this is the day the Hulk never wished happened, so we had to include it. Number 4. Train of Emotions. Not all of these outbursts are necessarily the Hulk's fault. Sometimes it's the humans or other evil villains that are involved that just use him as a vessel. He's forced to live with a good amount of trauma, so much so that he's easily triggered by humans and their machines, like trains, for example. In the Incredible Hulk issue 122, the Hulk has a moment where he kind of destroys an entire locomotive. Hear me out, Hulk is still the victim in this situation. Now the thing is, no passengers were on the train. Great, lucky, awesome. But before he lashed out, he explained how these machines are always hurting the Hulk, or they carry soldiers to where the Hulk is hiding. So he's used to humans wanting to hurt him or do tests on him. So much so that just the sight of the train upsets our man. Now imagine if there were people on that train, they would think that it's all his fault, when in actuality it's just the government scaring him. I don't know, maybe stop launching missiles at him. He might trust you, just an idea. Number 3, sent to space. Again. This time it wasn't Director Fury, no. This time it happened in Amazing Spider-Man issue 328. The Hulk gets launched into space, but not in a fancy ship, and not for a fancy mission, but because Spider-Man was the current Captain Universe host, and the Hulk simply got in his way. Peter Parker obtained these new powers. He can now control web lines through willpower alone, and the dude can straight up fly. This is a great day for Peter, but it's about to become way more interesting. In comes the Hulk, ready to smash for bucks, as he puts it. Well, Peter and his new powers have got some showing off to do. After a brief exchange of words and punches, Peter finishes the battle by punching the Hulk into space. And the Hulk has accepted defeat. He thinks this is the end. He's like, wow, just like the Beatles, here comes the sun. Look at me, defeated by something I can't even punch. How tragic. And then Spider-Man swoops up, grabs him, and pulls him back down to Earth. Close one. Number 2, the other snap. In the series Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect, we meet the alternate dark future version of the Hulk. His name was the Maestro. He made his first appearance in a vision back in Incredible Hulk Volume 2, Issue 401. But the Maestro is the main antagonist in this story. Now, it takes place about 100 or so years in the future after a nuclear war put the planet close to extinction, similar to Hulk the End, similar vibes. Now, the Maestro had been absorbing all this nuclear radiation this whole time, and he ended up becoming the strongest thing on the planet. He had these massive increases in strength and anger, plus he had the brains of Banner, so arguably he's unstoppable. While the two beasts are scrapping it out, the Hulk helps some bystanders out when a building almost crushes them. Now, while this is happening and he's distracted, in comes Maestro and snaps the Hulk's neck. I mean, that would suck any day of the week, but a future version of yourself doing it, I mean, that just adds insult to injury. And finally, number 1, punched into retirement. Thor Ragnarok ended with the Asgardians drifting off into space. Surtur had just laid waste to Asgard in order to defeat Hela, and like Odin himself said, Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And these people are about to run into a bigger, badder ship very shortly. Avengers Infinity War opens with the same ship being taken over by Thanos and the Black Order. It starts off with Ebony Maw. He's giving a nice speech to a bunch of people who are dead and can't even hear the speech. And meanwhile, Thanos is rolling back his shoulders. He's already obtained the power gem at this point, and he knows the Space Stone is on this ship. But the Hulk comes out for one last swing. He comes out beast mode and starts smashing Thanos. Now, for a moment, we think that the Hulk has got him. For a moment. And then Thanos, without the use of the Power Stone, beats up the Hulk so hard that he doesn't come out in the entire movie. This guy punched him in the neck so hard, he was like, okay, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm definitely not coming out. See you in 5 years, maybe.
Number 10, Bi Beast. All right, yes, he looks absolutely ridiculous. I'll admit that. When I think of two-headed monsters, I usually picture two separated heads on one pair of shoulders. But Bi Beast does one better by putting two heads stacked vertically on one neck. Well played, I think. Basically, Bi Beast is an android created by the now extinct race of bird people, who were a subspecies of Inhumans. They created Bi Beast to have one head with the knowledge of warfare and the other with the knowledge of culture. I figured having a head so cultured he'd be able to avoid most conflicts, but that doesn't seem to be the case. His first appearance was in Incredible Hulk number 169, when Hulk and Harpy visited the avian city of Aerie and were captured by Bi Beast. He makes a fitting villain for Hulk as his strength rivals the Hulk's. He does not get tired and he feels no pain. But like most two-headed antagonists, his heads can't seem to get along, always giving Bruce an edge. Number 9, Wendigo. Wendigo is, and I quote, an indestructible force of nature having been made by the gods. But these are the elder gods of Canadian folklore, so that makes them so much better, eh? The curse of the Wendigo has affected a large group of different people, and essentially happens when a human consumes other human flesh. Ick. Different versions of Wendigo and packs of Wendigo have fought against Wolverine, the Canadian team Alpha Flight, and obviously against the Hulk. Multiple times. The Wendigo curse turns whoever is infected by it into super strength wielding, nearly indestructible, furry, human consuming monsters. And they are nothing to croak at. Strength capable of lifting at least 75 tons, super speed, stamina that could last several days, durability that could withstand repeated strikes from the Hulk, a healing factor, and immortality as long as they are afflicted by the curse. If it wasn't for the whole consuming people and being a monster, the curse doesn't sound too bad, honestly. Number 8, Absorbing Man. Carl Crusher Creel, a former boxer, became the villain known as Absorbing Man by drinking a potion given to him by the Asgardian trickster Loki. Carl here has the ability of omnimorph duplication, which is essentially the ability to take on properties of anything he touches, living, inanimate, or even forms of energy. Absorbing Man was originally a villain for Thor, but at this point a ton of Thor's villains are also Hulk villains, so The Absorbing Man's first fight with Hulk in Incredible Hulk number 125 showed him absorbing Hulk's power before being depowered when Hulk reverted back to Banner. But this was far from their last encounter, and the Absorbing Man has grown and learned how to do more with his power. For an example of how scary this guy can be, look no further than the Immortal Hulk comics in issue 36 specifically. Creel turns into a gamma-powered sandstorm. Number 7. Ironclad. When a team of 4 scientists tried to replicate the rocket flight that gave the Fantastic Four their powers, they were successful and became the villain team known as the UFOs. They immediately came into conflict with the Incredible Hulk. The bruiser of the team was a guy named Mike Steele, who became the villain Ironclad, gaining a metallic armored skin that gives him superhuman durability capable of resisting Hulk's punches, mass and density manipulation, and superhuman strength that was powerful but nowhere near the same strength as the Hulk, which causes him to resent the Hulk quite a bit. In the Incredible Hulk number 305, Hulk comes into conflict with Ironclad and the UFOs in another dimension. When Hulk and Ironclad ram into each other to start the fight, the force of it reverberates along the pathways leading from the crossroads to an infinite number of dimensions. They shook the multiverse. I am shooketh. Wow, the Hulk is just incredible, isn't he? But you know who else is incredible? That's right. It's you guys. Because of your mere existence, I get to spend my days making videos for you to watch. And the more you like, comment, and subscribe, the more videos we are able to give you. It seems like a pretty fantastic trade-off. Thanks, guys. Number 6. Fin Fang Foom. He whose limbs shatter mountains and whose back scrapes the sun. Fin Fang Foom is part of a race of shape-shifting aliens from a world called Kakaranthara, or the much easier Maklu 4. Foom was the navigator of a spacecraft that landed on Earth in ancient China, and he volunteered to be put in a tomb in a deep slumber to serve as a backup plan for the other Makluans to conquer Earth. Fin Fang Foom looks a lot like a kind of humanized Chinese dragon when he is in his natural form, and is massive, shapeshifting from anywhere between 32 to 255 feet. He has super strength, stamina, durability, and longevity. He has telepathy and flight, spiritual possession, energy assimilation, acid mist, and potential transmogrification abilities. He has fought so many heroes, including the Hulk, multiple times. Specifically though, I want to bring your attention to the Hulk vs. Fin Fang Foom comic, where during the altercation, Hulk threw the massive dragon-looking alien to the moon, yelling, "Just leave!"
Number 5. J'accuse. Blade is one of the newest members of the Avengers main roster, and being new, it seems that he doesn't quite understand how best to deal with other Avengers members, like former and founding Avenger member the Hulk. While Hulk is on a rampage, the Avengers attempt to intercede in Immortal Hulk issue 47, and Blade thinks he has it all figured out. He thinks that Hulk has actually been transformed into a vampire thanks to his new/old powers like being stronger at night and being able to return from the dead. Blade might know vampires, but that doesn't mean he's always right when it comes to his suspicions. Hulk's response to Blade's accusation? To ask him if he can turn into a bat, being that Blade is also part vampire. Blade responds with no, and Hulk tells him it's a good time to learn as he tosses him up high and away. He's like, hey, can you do that? You can't? Great. Bye. Number 4. Hot tubbing. While some people might focus on when Hulk beat Thor in Thor Ragnarok in the MCU when it comes to embarrassing moments, I think there is one that tops that. After the fight, Thor is taken to Hulk's private quarters, where his wounds are tended to. When he awakes with a start, he notices Hulk is also there in what appears to be a hot tub? Hulk hot tub. Thor asks Hulk about how he ended up here, and when he finds out that he crash landed on Sakaar via a Quinjet, asks him where the Quinjet is. Hulk responds by getting up out of the tub and crossing the room to where the window is to show Thor the current location of the Quinjet now. This is when Thor learns that Hulk was, naked in that hot tub, which prompts him to seemingly avert his eyes and remark on how that image is now permanently burned into his mind. Yeah, he looks pretty uncomfortable and pretty embarrassed. Oh boy. Number 3. Love Frenzy. There was that one time Bruce Banner as the Hulk completely lost it, going into a frenzy that caused him to try and both chase down and beat up She-Hulk. And not only that either. It turns out this whole attempt to do so was actually kind of part of a mating ritual thing. It seems that Hulk forgot that She-Hulk was his cousin. because he was in a frenzied Hulk form. Luckily, Hulk didn't get his way here and was eventually set right again. Although in the Old Man Logan universe, the two do apparently end up together, and we don't really know if Jen was like here for that or not. Either way, the whole ordeal is pretty embarrassing for Jen, but also likely embarrassing for Bruce as well if he was told about it afterwards. It's just embarrassing all around, and also pretty, like, squicky. Ugh. Number 2, ripped in two. Wow, I like how I made number 2 ripped in two. I didn't do that on purpose, but that's good. When Ultimate Wolverine and Ultimate Hulk fought one another in the Ultimate Universe, Hulk pretty much put Wolverine to shame. In this alternate universe of Earth 1610, Wolverine was hired by Nick Fury to track down the Hulk. Wolverine tracked him down alright, but wasn't so good at dealing with him once he did. At one point, Hulk tears Wolverine straight down the middle and tosses his legs so far away that Logan has a challenging time recovering them. And of course I mean right down the middle, not down the middle this way, like down across the middle, I guess I should say. In this reality, Wolverine can't just grow new legs, by the way. In order to recover, he needs to find and basically reattach his legs so that his healing powers, or his survival powers more like, can basically take effect and kick in and heal him. So yeah, he had to crawl all the way over to find his legs in the snow. Great. Also, mountains. There were mountains there. Number 1, why are you hitting yourself? Well, Thor and Hulk fought in Ragnarok, where Hulk only really won against Thor thanks to the help of Grandmaster, tasing Thor until he passed out, just as he was figuring out how to harness the power of lightning without his hammer too. In the comics, these two have fought actually multiple times. One such occasion involved a showdown where Hulk made fun of Thor for having long hair, mistaking him for a hairy lady and telling him that he should get a haircut. Thor, of course, did not take too kindly to these remarks about his long golden locks, which he quite loves, and fought back against Hulk with his hammer, Mjolnir. However, Thor ended up surprised when Hulk refused to surrender, claiming he was the strongest there will ever be, before grabbing Thor's hammer arm and then making Thor basically hit himself with Mjolnir. Ouch. Hey Thor, why are you hitting yourself?
Number 10, Maker. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Ultimate Universe is awesome. Hulk in this universe is actually quite a bit scarier, at least to me. You know who else is scarier? Reed Richards, the Maker. The Maker is the Reed Richards of the Ultimate Universe, who is evil. He's part of a group of superpowered beings alongside Hulk, Human Torch, Kang, and Quicksilver, who are called the Dark Ultimates. They are essentially villains together, and Hulk and Maker are actually kind of on the same team. Maker actually battles Hulk in a more psychological way, when he calms one of his rampages and convinces him he's being used by S.H.I.E.L.D. After a whole whack of confusing comic booky stuff, the Ultimates all team up and save the day, and then travel the cosmos hunting down the Maker. Number 9. The Leader. It's a great name, honestly. The Leader. Nice. Rightfully so too. This guy is one of the Hulk's oldest rivals. Samuel Stearns was a janitor at a chemical facility where he unfortunately also had an incident involving gamma radiation. Samuel's gamma mutations gained him a super genius level intelligence, along with some telepathy. He also has the gamma ability of self-resurrection. There is actually an instance in Immortal Hulk number 39 in which he physically consumes the intelligence of another man, Brian Banner. But we don't know if this is a normal ability or a kind of mental representation of him consuming another person's knowledge, since he was in the below place at the time. The Leader fights with Bruce on so many different occasions, but the Immortal Hulk story is the one I'm really into right now. You should check it out if you haven't before. Number 8, Maestro. The Maestro is technically Hulk himself, only an alternate version, one who lived through a nuclear apocalypse. He has the intelligence of Bruce, but basically double the strength of Hulk in his base form. He has easily defeated the Hulk several times, and his existence as a possible future version of the Hulk scares the hell out of Bruce himself. He is what would happen if you took the Hulk and made him evil and power hungry and powered him up. In his timeline, he rules over the megacity of Dystopia, where the remnants of humanity live, and he overthrew the former ruler Hercules not through pure strength, but through deception. He is powerful, ruthless, and just a pretty rude dude. Well, here we are. We meet again, at the end of the 8th point. You know how great you are? Pretty great. When you gingerly press upon that like and subscribe button, it lets us know that this is the kind of content you like to see. So, Thanks for doing that. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook too. You can find a little extra content. Alright, let's carry on, shall we? Number 7. Juggernaut. Cain Marko, the avatar of the god Sidorak. Cain is a Thor-level threat to the Marvel Universe, wielding the abilities granted to him by the Gem of Sidorak. Juggernaut has almost limitless super strength and stamina. He has a nearly invulnerable force field, he's immortal, and when he does somehow get damaged, he has a ridiculous healing factor. His main ability, however, is irresistible force embodiment, meaning once he begins to advance in a certain direction, it is virtually impossible to halt his movements. Guess who was one of the only characters to actually stop him? Thor! Yes, but shut up! Hulk! Hulk was one of them when he was War Hulk. Gosh, I gotta stop getting ahead of myself. Number 6. Nightmare. A mysterious lord of fear. Nightmare is basically an unstoppable demon capable of capturing the astral form or spirit of a person while they are sleeping. Nightmare has been shown to be capable of subduing 2 earth demigods, an eternal and an elder god. That's the kind of power we're talking about. But you can solve any problem when you're an impossibly strong green monster made of pure muscle, right? Nightmare manages to capture Hulk's mind and send him on a rampage against Dr. Stephen Strange. Luckily, the good doctor was able to contact Banner inside the Hulk's mind. I don't really know how one does this, but Banner transformed into the Hulk inside the Hulk's mind and fought off Nightmare. They've clashed a few other times, like when he took off Nightmare's head and stole his horse. Again, I don't know how it works, but it is what it is.
Coming in at number 5, we have the original Marvel Universe's Hulk vs. Abomination, which somehow manages to be even more of a complete victory than the Ultimate versions. After Abomination was blamed for the death of Bruce Banner's wife, Betty Ross, the Hulk went on a complete rampage to destroy Abomination, something the villain intended to finally figure out which of the 2 green giants was stronger. But in a final humiliating moment, the Hulk had the opportunity to finally kill Abomination, but instead chose to revert back to Bruce Banner, showing his humanity and proving to Abomination that Banner had the strongest willpower of all, the ultimate defeat for Abomination. Coming in at number 4, we have Hulk smashing Loki in the original MCU Avengers film. For years, comic book fans had been yearning to see a proper adaptation of the Jade Giant on screen. And while earlier live-action Hulk films were ambitious in their own ways and had their own unique moments, the most iconic and defining Hulk moment finally came when the Hulk joined the Avengers in their first team-up movie and interrupted Loki's monologuing to give him the beatdown he deserved. This was the Hulk we'd all been waiting to see, and hearing Cap tell him to smash, or the Hulk saying puny god, they were definitely worth the wait. Coming in at number 3, we have the Hulk killing Maestro with the explosion that created him in the first place. Bruce Banner often has to face off against different mental versions of the Hulk inside his head, but this alternate version of himself from a post-apocalyptic future is the real deal. Naming himself Maestro after conquering what remains of America following a nuclear winter, this version of the Hulk had become far stronger than the Hulk's usual starting strength, with years of sucking up deadly radiation only improving his ferocity and power. When the real Hulk encountered this warlord version of himself, the only way he was able to finally come out on top was by literally warping the Maestro back in time to be killed by the same gamma bomb that created the Hulk back in the 60s. A nice bit of circular karma that showed that Bruce Banner could outwit even his older self. Coming in at number 2, we have Zombie Hulk vs. Zombie Thanos. The Hulk and Thanos might not have gone to get a proper physical rematch in the MCU, but in the Marvel multiverse, their zombie versions had a fight that has to be seen to be believed. 40 years after the initial infection that turned their universe into an undead wasteland, a zombified Thanos decides to pick a fight with an undead Hulk, claiming that the Hulk has eaten more flesh than his fair share. With the eloquence that only a zombie can provide, the Hulk responded by crushing Thanos' skull between his clapping palms, instantly destroying the weakened Mad Titan and showing that maybe you shouldn't tell the Hulk he's been eating too much lately. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have the time that the Ultimate Hulk threw the Wolverine's legs up a mountain. While the Wolverine might not count as an outright villain, at this point in the Ultimate Universe, the Hulk and Wolverine were definitely enemies. Tasked by Nick Fury to kill Bruce Banner, the Wolverine got his Hawk completely kicked and woke up after their battle to find his lower half entirely missing, ripped off by the Hulk. To make matters worse, his sense of smell let him know that if he wanted to recover his legs and rejoin them to his body with his healing ability, he'd need to climb 4 miles up a mountain. Many people have tried to fight the Hulk over the years, but few people have gotten defeated so embarrassingly as the Wolverine did when his legs got thrown 4 miles away.
Number 10. Wanda's mind games. With many comics to pick and choose all these events from, we gotta start somewhere where most of us kinda remember, just to get the gears turning. So we go back now to 2015, Avengers Age of Ultron. Now before Wanda Maximoff was an Avenger, she was getting her evil days under her belt. She was Team Hydra, or rather Team Ultron in this case. This included playing mind tricks with the Avengers. Wanda got to Banner and he hulked out, and this time it was bad. It ended very badly. Now at this point in the MCU, the Hulk had a handle on his angry side. It was controllable in a way. All he needed was for Black Widow to tap her fingers on his big old green palm and then say, "Oh, the sun's getting low. You're good. We're all good. Welcome back, Banner. Let's go home." But she wasn't able to do that this time because of Wanda's mind tricks. She was also under her hex. Meanwhile, Ultron's getting his cold hands on some vibranium and Bruce is going nuts. He ends up going absolutely crazy, and it takes Iron Man and his new Veronica armor, the Hulkbuster armor. He has to knock some senses back into him. Literally, he punches him so hard that he goes to sleep. And before we continue on with this list, guys, if you want to go ahead and give this video a like, that would be great. And while you're there, you might as well just subscribe. I mean, you're already watching these videos, just a little tap-tap-a-roo, and then our face will pop into your YouTube. You don't have to do anything. We'll just show up. So thank you so much for your support. Now let's get right back into this video. Number 9, Soul Survivor. Hulk the End, written by Peter David, released in 2002, is a one-shot that takes place in a world where nobody is left but Bruce Banner. In a world probably resembling our near future following a war that ended in nuclear fallout, the issue starts with Banner vlogging. Yeah, just kind of like this in a way. He's accompanied by a vidbot, this floating camera that always hovers 10 feet away from him. It was assigned to confirm and record the fate of the final humans on Earth. Seeing as Banner is the last one and he's not gonna die, it's just gonna follow him around until the end of time. Banner doesn't mind it, but Hulk hates it. God, that would be so annoying. It's like TMZ, but in the future. It's coming. So Banner just absorbs all this nuclear energy and now he walks about all these wastelands that were once home. He's not totally alone though. No, he comes across these giant mutated cockroaches. And it's a really dark and cold ending for Bruce. The Hulk just wants to be the biggest, baddest creature ever and rule a planet, and Banner just wants to pass away. He's done. He wants nothing to do with this. It goes deep. Also, not to mention that the Hulk often has his body destroyed and devoured by these massive mutant cockroaches. He grows them back afterwards because of the increased gamma, but man, that's gotta suck. Number 8, A Perfect Pair. While Logan broke R-rated records back in 2017, it introduced us to what a darker side to the superhero life may just look like. And in the Old Man Logan storyline, we find the Hulk as one of the few remaining superheroes on Earth. Now at this point, Banner had decided to breed with somebody like him, maybe a bit too much like him. Like say, I don't know, his cousin, Jennifer Walters? Yeah, they had offsprings and they referred to them as Hulk Gang. Now, if you think that's crazy enough, the Hulk Gang was actually responsible for the death of Logan's family. Just cause, well, you know, Hulk Gang gets bored. Hulk Gang wants to fight, that's it. So Wolverine went to exchange a few words with the green guy and the Hulk ended up swallowing Wolverine whole. Yum. Now it sounds like the Hulk won, but that's not the case in this list. Things are gonna get a little bit different. Wolverine then used his claws to get out in a rather messy way. That's why you don't mess with Logan, Banner, come on. Number 7, kicked out by the Illuminati. When you have this massive green monster that likes to smash buildings and rip people apart, you gotta ask yourself, what do we really do with this guy if things stop working out? Where do we put something like that? Well, you kick him out. Well, rather, you kick him off planet. There's an idea. In Incredible Hulk issue 9, we see this. We see Fury send the Green Goliath out into space for a mission. He was originally sent to destroy the God's Eye, which is a rogue satellite, but then when the dust and wires settle, Hulk gets ready to come back to Earth. Only the shuttle goes a different way. When asked what if the Hulk comes back, Fury responds with, well, we'll deal with it. Well, he didn't return yet, I'll get into that later. But where he did end up, thanks to Fury, was Sakaar. And thus begins the Planet Hulk storyline. Number 6, Horsemen of the Apocalypse. War Hulk. Yes, this guy's great, we gotta talk about him. In X-Men Apocalypse, we caught a glimpse of the Horsemen. We have Apocalypse surrounding himself with the likes of Storm, Cyclops, Gambit, and Archangel, before going to Magneto himself. But what if he recruited the Hulk in this movie? What if we saw that? What would that look like? What if these superhero properties were all under one roof? Well, that's what happens in the Onslaught storyline. We pick up right after the Hulk and Banner split into 2 separate units, and they're on different Earths. So the angry green one ended up being recruited to serve as the Horseman War, thus giving us War Hulk. This version of the Hulk is just a treat. He's even more intimidating and powerful with Apocalypse's upgrade. Even Apocalypse had to put a limit on his powers. That's how you know it's real.
Coming in number 5, we've got The Thing. Strong arm versus strong arm, a classic trope, a legendary fight. Other than Wolverine, I'd say The Thing is one of the Hulk's most lasting hero opponents. Both considered immortal, unbeatable, impossible to damage, this is a heavyweight bout like no other. However, the Hulk definitely takes precedence when he's in revenge mode. So when he wanted to go and find and fight the Avengers, the Fantastic Four stepped in. Benjamin Grimm wanted a piece of the gamma-saturated super, so the two decided to throw down on their own. After an exchange of massive blows, eventually the Thing did drop. It's gotta hurt fighting the Hulk, but at least he can take a hit. Coming in number 4, the Avengers. Yes, all of them. That's the thing, this seems to happen quite often. Nobody really knows how to deal with the Hulk, and this is an issue that rears its ugly head quite often. Even though he is often part of the group himself, if things go a little sideways, it's not unlike the Hulk to decide to go solo after working out some frustration. And by working out frustration, I do mean slapping his former comrades around. He can do that no problem too, the Hulk is strong. Why else would Tony Stark constantly be dreaming up contingency plans related to the bulky boy? But yeah, the Avengers don't often beat Hulk if they have to take him on. Usually it's making him turn back into Bruce Banner or getting him as far away from the fight as possible, and when that doesn't work, the Hulk beats folks down and leaves. Simple as that. Coming in number 3, we've got Doctor Strange. You would think that the Sorcerer Supreme would be able to deal with a meathead no problem, a spell or two and the problem's done with. However, again, during World War Hulk, the rage proved to be a little too much. Holy moly Hulk, calm down why don't ya? Strange often sends Hulk to different dimensions or far away if it looks like things are getting too rough. In this fight, he decides to channel a universe-destroying demon to give him that upper hand. It seems to be working at first, but as is the case with many fights involving last-ditch efforts against the Hulk, the new powers can only last so long. When Strange starts to lose control of this demonic power, the Hulk is just getting angrier, and when Hulk gets mad, he gets strong. With this in mind, I'm sure you can guess what happens next. Doctor Strange, unconscious. Coming in number 2, we've got the Silver Surfer. No, not Silver Surfer, Herald of Galactus, wielder of powers beyond mortal understanding. But it's true, Hulk did indeed take out this incredible hero. Although it was under some very unique circumstances. Some very zombie circumstances in fact. Showing up just in time to see the world totally gripped by the zombie apocalypse, he does his best to help out. The number of heroes attempting to eat him proves to be too much though, and he's overwhelmed before the Hulk arrives. Using his massive size and strength to push through the crowd, Hulk consumes Silver Surfer, gaining a bit of his power cosmic along the way. Yikes. And finally at number 1, we've got Sentry. Sentry should be Earth's strongest warrior. After being imbued with the powers of a super soldier serum hundreds of thousands of times stronger than the original, he became incredibly powerful. Almost too powerful if you ask me. Thing is, this kind of strength is only barely enough to handle the Hulk. When the Hulk and his Warbound came to Earth, Sentry was there to fight him. However, they essentially fought each other to a standstill, with each reverting back to their human form. But even after all that, Bruce Banner gets the last hit in. Classic. Fighting till the very end. Sheesh. Who would have guessed that Hulk had the capacity to end all sorts of other superheroes? You gotta wonder how all these uber people feel when faced with a being so clearly stronger than themselves.